The general slammed his palm against the briefing table hard enough to rattle the metal legs. 3 units were already missing. 1 convoy burned somewhere beyond the eastern ridge. And every man in that room knew what he was about to say before the words left his mouth. He needed the army's best sniper, immediately. What none of them expected was the silence that followed when a quiet woman stepped forward instead. Before I tell you what happened next, tell me in the comments where you're rewatching from. I love knowing who is listening. Her name was Captain Mara Ellison, though most people barely remembered it. She had learned long ago that invisibility was safer than recognition. In a room filled with decorated officers and loud confidence, she stood like a shadow that had decided to become solid. Slim frame, calm eyes, no dramatic posture, just stillness, the kind that made noise feel unnecessary. The general turned, irritation already forming on his face. He had imagined someone taller, louder, someone who looked like the stories told in mess halls at night. His gaze slid past her once, then snapped back, as if his mind refused what his eyes confirmed. "You?" he asked, disbelief barely contained. Mara didn't flinch. Aside, though, something old stirred. Not fear. Memory. She remembered other rooms. Other looks. The way doubt always arrived before respect. She had stopped trying to fight it years ago. Outside, the airfield groaned under the weight of distant rotors. Dust drifted through shafts of sunlight, settling on boots and shoulders. Around them, whispers rippled, some amused, some annoyed, a few quietly curious. The general exhaled sharply. There was no time for pride. The mission briefing resumed, tension crawling through every word. A hostile force had taken position in the mountain pass, cutting off evacuation routes. Civilians were trapped. So were 2 squads of soldiers. Every failed attempt had cost lives. Mara listened without interruption, her mind already mapping terrain she had studied countless times. Wind patterns, elevation, sight lines. She noticed what others missed. The way the general avoided mentioning the youngest squad, the pause before he spoke their unit name. Someone he knew was out there. That was the moment the moral weight settled on her shoulders. She had a choice. The shot she would be asked to take could save dozens. It could also end a life she would never know, never understand. She had learned to live with that balance, but it never became light. As preparations began, skepticism followed her like a second shadow. Sergeant muttered something about political selections. Another soldier scoffed quietly. Mara heard it all. She always did. She simply adjusted her gloves, fingers steady despite the cold creeping into the air. Hours later, she lay prone on a ridge overlooking the pass. The world narrowed to breath, heartbeat, and scope. Below, enemy movement flickered like restless ants. Radios crackled with strained whispers. One wrong move, and the trap squads would be overrun. Her hands trembled. It's not from fear, but from the weight of consequence. She steadied them by remembering why she started. Not medals. Not approval. But the belief that precision could be mercy. The general watched from the command post, jaw clenched. He had seen snipers fail, had buried men because of it. When Mara's calm voice came through the radio, measured and soft, it unsettled him more than panic ever could. "Target acquired," she said. Waiting, time stretched. A single second felt like a lifetime. Soldiers held their breath miles away. Even the wind seemed to pause. Then movement. A hostile commander stepped into view, barking orders. If he finished, the ambush would begin. Mara exhaled. The shot cracked through the valley, clean and final. The commander fell. Confusion erupted below. Orders dissolved into chaos. That was all the trap squads needed. They moved like a tide, coordinated and fierce, pushing through the opening she had carved with a single decision. Minutes later, cheers broke through the radio static. No casualties, civilians safe, soldiers returning. In the command room, silence took on a different meaning. The general stared at the live feed, then slowly removed his cap. Around him, murmurs shifted into something closer to awe. When Mara returned, dust on her uniform and fatigue in her eyes, the room stood without being told. The general approached her, stopping just short, as if unsure how close respect was allowed to stand. "I was wrong," he said quietly. "It wasn't loud. Didn't need to be." Mara nodded once. No smile, no triumph, just acceptance. Later, as night settled over the base, she sat alone on a crate outside the barracks. Stars burned cold and clear above her. She thought about the lives saved, the life taken, the balance she would carry forward. She wondered if invisibility had ever truly protected her, or if it had simply taught her patience. The general passed by, pausing. "They'll remember your name now," he said. Mara looked up at the sky. "That's not why I did it." He nodded, understanding more than he expected to. Because strength doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it waits quietly until the moment it's needed most. And the silence that once dismissed her became the space where lives were saved. If this story moved you, share your thoughts in the comments. Your voice matters here. And if you believe courage comes in forms we often overlook, subscribe to Whispered Words. Because the quiet stories are often the ones that stay with us longest.